Wait, so that was us talking about the phase of life, early mid-20s, where, according to your strategy and life story, you're like, I consciously, deliberately avoided settling down during that time frame, and that's what I would recommend to others as well. Okay.
Yes.
Now, let's say whether it's because of life milestones, because of personality, whatever it is, this person who's listening to us, or he says, well, I kind of already did all that stuff, and now I'm like, I feel ready to settle down. How did you make that transition? Was it a conscious mental, like, all right, you know what, I should start mellowing out, and I should start like going on the hunt for like a a prospective spouse?
Yeah.
Or were you just like going about your happy life, and you're like, next thing you know, this beautiful woman walks into your world, and you're like, well, I guess I'm settling down now.
Yeah. That's a good question too. And I remember, so like Kristen and I met when I think I was 29.
Okay.
So I was still in my 20s, very late 20s.
Yeah. Just under the wire.
Just under the wire.
Yeah.
And I had been dating a girl for a couple years prior to that.
Yeah.
And I broke up with her because I didn't want to get married, and I didn't want the long-term thing. So, and that was, probably earlier in the year-ish, say. And I think I still was like, oh, I'm fine now. But I think, after a few months, I was looking around and I was like, okay, I think, maybe it just wasn't the right person. And that's why I didn't want to get, married.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. And I still was, I still wasn't like totally, on board or ready for it or whatever.
Yeah.
But I had gone to DC to hang out with some other friends. And one of my friends lived in a house that he had a bunch of roommates, and Kristen was one of the roommates.
Yeah.
And, I met her that weekend, and we just clicked really well. And I remember thinking, wow, she's actually really fun to hang out with. So I at least want to hang out with her again.
Yeah.
And then she came up to Boston for a weekend, and there wasn't a lot of pressure on it because she chose a weekend where she had a separate group of friends that were coming to Boston as well. And she told me that. And I was like, this is great.
Right.
If we hate each other,
no stress.
You can just go and hang out with your friends. And I can go home and, nice to meet you.
No hard feelings.
Yeah. And everybody's great. And I think that really helped the situation.
Yeah. Dating tip.
Yeah.
Provide an easy out.
So
there's no pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I'm sorry, but like, it sounds like you're saying you were in a place where you had only recently exited the phase of, I'm consciously choosing to not settle down. But you were not yet in the phase of like, I'm actively looking for somebody to settle down.
I think it just happened to like run into it, which is probably the way to do it, really. Like I didn't have any pressure on myself. I think that doesn't help when you have like a lot of pressure where you're like, I need to find somebody to settle down with. You're going on these dates and you're putting a lot of pressure on it. And I think that's what helped with me and Kristen. We lived apart, and we could just have fun when we saw each other, right? Like there wasn't the everyday like, the anxiety or like the stress of like, I've got to go and hang out with them now after work or whatever. Like we couldn't do that. And I think that started to turn I had more fun with this person, with Kristen. And it was sort of like maybe the first time I was thinking, okay, well, I'm older now. We've been hanging out for a while. Is this somebody that I could, get married to? Yeah. She would be someone I could. Let's continue to date. So it kind of just like naturally, organically, I think my mind shift changed, to that.
Yeah. So interesting. Good.
And I don't know if that's common or if that is even like true, but this is how I'm thinking about it in my head of how it happened.
Oh, no, we're just exploring it. And it's a case study of one, but just in the moment, my first thought is like, it is an interesting, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. In the sense of like, if you had met her when your mindset, regardless of your age, but just if your mindset was like, I'm not interested, then I almost wonder if like you would have met her and be like, I don't want to hang out with this girl anymore. Yeah,
a lot of it is timing.
Right.
A lot of it is timing. So for sure.
So one of the things you said is don't entertain settling down until you're done being selfish. Yeah. I want you to say more about being selfish and then being done being selfish and what constitutes that transition.
I guess that you need to be done valuing your time over everybody else's. Like, well, you're always going to, valuing your time over your families, your potential families. So like, I can't, if you're going to do that when you're married and with children, well, what are you getting married for when you're having children for? Like you like that's being selfish with your time. You're not spending time with your kids. So why do you have them? And you're not spending time with your wife. Like if you don't want to spend time with your wife, why are you married to her? You know, if you'd rather be out with all these other people, well, then you don't really want to be around your wife. Like I enjoy hanging out with you guys. Yeah. But like, I like hanging out with Kristen too. And like, I want to hang out with Kristen.
That. Yeah. I don't feel offended.
So that's what I mean by like, kind of being selfish with your time and then realizing like, okay, I'm ready to, I don't need to go to the Red Sox, 80 times a year or 60 times a year. Or I don't need to go to the playoff games for the Bruins and the Celtics all the time. I can go to some once in a while, but I don't need to go, to every game. And because I want to be around my family and I want to be around, I want to create memories with my family and that sort of thing.